Hey, everybody. Welcome to the 82nd episode of Reanimated, the podcast about all things zombie. I am Stuart Tiffin. I'm one of your hosts, coming at you from Pacific time zone. From the eastern side of things is my inevitable co-host, H.A. Conrad. How's it going this morning?
Going well. And
What
it's
time
more
is it?
like evening for me, but
It's evening everywhere.
okay. But for you who did not sleep at all, it is morning.
Yeah, and we'll get to the reason for that in a little while. In the meantime, this episode is brought to you by Squarespace, the all-in-one platform that makes it easy to create your own website. And we are pleased to announce that they are back. They were offline a little bit earlier today, making us wonder if it was indeed end times. But no, they figured it out.
It was just a little blip in the
Just
Squarespace world.
just a hiccup. Not at all reason to pack your car and move out to the desert.
No, no,
Although
no.
you never know. However, if you are a first-time user of Squarespace, you can use the offer code Zombie at checkout to get a 10% discount off of your website purchasing needs, and we recommend their services with great gusto.
A lot of gusto.
So
Gust.
much, so much gusto. So we are here to talk today about Fear the Walking Dead episode 2, So Close, comma, Yet So Far.
Hmm.
Which I'm always tempted to put an and in there, but whatever. They can do what they want to. The second episode out of six of the inaugural season of Fear the Walking Dead, the spin-off of the Monster AMC show. So we have a couple of little items to talk about before we get into the review of the episode. A couple of them are actually still pertain to the episode itself, but the first one I think we should talk about, AJ, is this noble effort out of Asheville.
Hmm.
Where is this place?
Speaking of so close yet so far,
Where exactly is Asheville? Do we know?
Asheville? Well,
Yes.
I believe it's in North Carolina.
Okay.
Am I wrong?
So I have no idea.
I believe it's
They're,
Asheville, North Carolina.
they're on the French Broad River. So we reported on this last year when this inspired group of zombie, I don't know, reenactors attempted to break a Guinness World Record by putting more than 634 people in a continuous line of tubers on the river in full zombie attire. And last year they were pretty close with 500 and change. And this year they tried again and sadly only made it to around 300 participants.
Hmm. So what we're saying is that they have now failed twice,
It
right?
failed worse.
Hmm. Aw. I feel bad for the zombie floaters.
Me too. Well, maybe there's always next year.
There is always next year. And I have a feeling they will continue to try and try again.
Why
So
not?
so go, you zombie tubers. Let's see you break the record next time.
It's for a good cause. It goes to charity, watershed protection organizations.
Mm.
So if you can hear me in Asheville, be it in North Carolina or anywhere, do it. Just do it. Anyway, next. A
Uh,
couple of things. So Fear the Walking Dead, it aired last night. Today is August 31st. We should have this podcast up on the internets around today or tomorrow. Not sure.
we're gonna try for today.
Okay, awesome. Well, the episode aired last night, and if you recall, the pilot got a kind of monster audience, breaking records of more than 10 million viewers on cable. I'm pretty sure that on network that number is nothing new, at least until the fragmentation of the American television audience. But by today's standards, more than 10 million is crazy. So episode two saw a 20% decrease, but it's still more than 8 million, which is still. I was listening to our review of the second season of not the Strand, the Strain, and that only got 1.7 or 1.8 million for its premiere of the
Right.
second season. So those are the kinds of numbers that people are used to seeing. I mean, that's modest, but those are the normal kind of numbers for a popular show.
Mm.
This show is still going gangbusters. So 8.2 million people tuned in. Sunday night to watch Fear the Walking Dead episode 2.
Yeah. So what was your initial thoughts? Or what were they?
Um,
Are you liking it as much as last week?
oh, yeah, like I'm enjoying the slow pace because this is an element of this universe that we have not gotten to see from the perspective of Robert Kirkman. This is like the first 25 minutes of Dawn of the Dead 2004 of any zombie film you've ever seen when this like dawning realization comes over our cast of characters. And there are still people in our cast that we're watching on this show who don't really know. Nobody really knows exactly what's going on, but by episode 2 now they're starting to get an inkling, but they're still not completely on board. And so the teasing out of this process to me is absolutely thrilling.
So I am enjoying that to an extent. But I do have some gripes about how they are choosing to tease out said plot.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and part of the issues that I'm having with how they're being so slow to unravel the story is that take the Walker issue aside. I can understand how people might not fully embrace the idea that the undead are walking around and biting people and crap like that. But just from a contagion point of view, I don't buy some of the reactions that are going on. And some of the withholding of information or the lack of sharing of information, specifically by the character Maddie.
Oh, with Alicia?
With Alicia, but also with Nick and Alicia. Like, it's, even if you don't know exactly how to explain what's going on, you could at least give a heads up so that the person understands exactly how dire it is. And they give a little bit of a half-assed, it's a virus or whatever, but they're not really explaining to Alicia why things are so dire. And then Maddie also, I do understand. I understand that this is all pretty shocking. You know, you see the drug dealer guy getting killed and all of that, but you own up to the fact, and she did, and she and Travis and Nick are fully on board with the idea that they need to get out of Dodge, and yet they suddenly split up everybody. And I understand the reasons for doing that, but I still feel like maybe the stuff that you've got to do, you're going to have to, I don't know, figure out how to do it together. Because all hell is about to break loose, and they're already seeing it. So I guess part of it just feels pretty contrived to me. And so I was troubled by some of these things. I still liked it, and I still liked the slow unraveling. But there were these issues that I was kind of not buying so much. That's all.
I hear that. I understand that is one perspective, and I can get behind it. I just think that it's still there's still like such a gain in terms of having the cast not be completely on board, because it allows the audience to be that to have that perspective of don't open that door or don't go down that hallway. When I mean, maybe it's a cheap thing, but I feel like it doesn't feel completely unrealistic, because although Maddie and Travis, and it was really Travis's idea to get out of Dodge, Maddie could still just be in denial. I mean, she lies to Tobias. He's like, "Have you ever seen one of them in person? I've only seen them online." And she's like, "No, let's get out of here." Like she doesn't want it. She doesn't even want to deal with it, right?
No,
And I don't know. I don't know if we're supposed to just buy that she just doesn't want to talk about it because it's too insane.
Yeah, well, let's also talk about Tobias for one quick second.
Tobias needs his own show.
Tobias totally needs his own show, but also Tobias is so smart. He's not going to come back to a school just to get his damn knife.
No, he went there for the food, I think.
Yeah, I know, and that was a funny little bit that they did, but still. I also think there's better places to get food, although I love how Tobias just is pretty much laying down the rules. He is the zombie nerd in this apocalypse. It's awesome. I really like him, and I don't want him to go away. I hope that he makes a reappearance.
I feel like he's going to show up in season 2, and he's going to be like
a badass?
140 pounds and a ninja.
Oh my gosh, I love that kid.
Yeah, too good for this show.
He really is.
So this episode opens with there's a couple of little weird scenes in this episode that are not quite artistic, but a little bit weird, like slow-mo. They use slow-mo for some reason in this episode. It's the same director as the pilot, different writer. Robert Kirkman wrote and one other guy wrote the pilot. This one's written by, what's his name? I wrote it down. Marco Ramirez. So it opens with a slow-mo scene of Artie, the principal, walking through the high school, and he's on the radio, and some guy's saying to him on the radio, "We're clear in the gymnasium," and Artie's saying, "Clear up here," or something like. It's all in slow-mo, so it's a little hard to understand. But we have these scenes of like a couple of really quick shots of the school being deserted. It's the same day. We don't actually realize that until a little bit later, but it's the same day as most of the action in the pilot. It's essentially right after Calvin's been run over a bunch of times. So we jump from the slow-mo, the little slightly artsy slow-mo scenes at the school and Artie, the principal, being very much alive, to suddenly Alicia's walking down the middle of the street and people are skateboarding past her, and she's walking up to a house and the door is ajar. And of course, our spidey sense is like, what? No, this is bad. Nobody leaves their door open like that, you know?
Yeah.
And I kind of thought this was an interesting way that she stumbles onto Matt in this scene. We never see him, right? I mean, we do eventually. So maybe that like lessens the impact of this. But she's walking through the house. There's signs of a struggle. She's calling out for him. We hear the breathing. She has a reaction, but we never see his face. And then it cuts to the credits or the intro splash screen.
You know, it's a cheap thrill. I can see that.
You think that's all it is? Is that as much as it is?
Yeah.
But
I also think that the whole Matt storyline is a little unrealistic, because if he's so into Alicia and he knew he was supposed to meet her, I mean, come on. Dude is like, he is definitely in a bad way, but he's not so bad that he can't get to a phone, and he's not so bad that he can't communicate. Do you know what I mean? Like he is
having a conversation, I guess.
He's having conversations. Hey, some weird dude bit me. Shouldn't you probably unveil that at some point? It's just a little strange to me.
So this is the problem that you're having, is that nobody's talking about this directly with Alicia.
Right, and when they would, it's sort of like, what are you all protecting Alicia from? It's very strange. Maybe, I don't know.
It is a little weird. It can all be explained away by denial.
It can't, and you know, clearly Matt understands that something weird is happening, and he gets it, and
but it's all communicated through these like glances with Travis later, right?
Right. But again, I don't know. So I still feel like they could be doing the same thing and not acting as stupid about it. And I still like it, so I don't want it to be implied that I don't, but
the dramatic tension that's inserted into this plot by Alicia not knowing what's going on is worth a lot, you know? Like when she tries to leave the house later, she's trying to leave the house to go give Matt some fucking soup. And Nick basically like gives himself a seizure.
Fakes a seizure to like.
That is, I don't know. I mean, sure, if in a perfect world they would have just all found each other and driven right out of town as soon as they made that decision.
No, I'm not even saying that. I'm saying that I could still see Matt telling her what happened to him, and her not fully understanding what that means, and her not fully believing it, and still wanting to go to his house and bring him soup. And I think all of that still could have been accomplished without this weird sort of cone of silence around her.
Yeah, she is the only character who doesn't know what the hell is going on until the very end, it seems. And even then, we don't really think she gets it. And you know what, like Maddie and Travis, when they're sitting there looking at Matt and he's got a bite wound and he's sick, and they're like, this isn't how Calvin turned. We still don't know what's going on, is basically what's happening. But what they are saying is stay away from him. They're having all the right reactions, even though they don't know what the hell's going on. Mm-hmm. They're being overly protective and kind of like knee-jerky, but they're having correct reactions. And I would argue they have basically correct reactions throughout this episode, perhaps with the exception of not sharing the information with Alicia. And so I'm on board with you there. It doesn't totally make sense, but I can appreciate from the dramatic tension perspective the fact that she doesn't know what's going on and how that makes the story a little bit more interesting.
Yeah. And then can we also talk about something else that has come up with other criticism, in which I did notice this as well. Other than sort of one weird goth hippie white walker woman, um, all the people that we have seen killed as walkers have been African American.
There was one white guy, the one on the freeway, but yeah, all the main
Well, the
characters,
main ones are the
all the ones
supporting,
with
like
speaking
Calvin.
roles.
And
Yeah,
I know
exactly.
Matt's not a goner yet, but clearly he's on that way.
Yeah, and art.
And Art. Again, this is something that's actually come up in The Walking Dead as
Yep,
well. Like
yep.
they definitely have this track record that isn't so great, and it does trouble me.
Well, yeah, and this episode also has echoes of like Ferguson and police violence and this kind of stuff. And so one of the other articles that we're going to have in our show notes is an article, an interview with the Hollywood Reporter with one of the producers, and they're asking like, why did you what was the decision making process that led you guys to killing off three African American characters in the first two episodes, and they're all like speaking role characters. And the guy is basically saying, look, we have a very diverse cast. We don't cast these roles necessarily based on race. And so we're not trying to make a point about race here. It's just this, we didn't know exactly how they were going to die when we cast them. And then in the course of the script coming together, that's just how it worked out, is essentially what their argument is, or rebuttal or whatever. And they're also saying like, we're not trying to draw any parallels with current American tension with the way that police have been dealing with issues domestically.
Really,
So
they're not, because it sure felt that way to me.
it kind of does. At the same time, it feels almost like a Diet Coke version of how actual American police situations go, where you've got the armored cars and the
Yeah.
guys
No,
who
that's
are
true.
better equipped than the National Guard showing up to riots. And then in the riot scene in this episode, there's like six guys with batons. There's nobody with an M16 or an M4 anywhere. Like
Right.
there's just none of this militarization of the police force in this episode that we actually see here on
Right.
the news.
I don't mean to be. I'm not like punching holes in this. I am enjoying the unfolding of events, and I do disagree with some of my favorite zombie loving friends who are also watching this as well and feel like that anybody's into this should all just be like unraveling really quickly, and that you should just skip into it, such as they did in Dawn of the Dead, and meaning the remake and all that stuff, in 28 Days Later. And I don't agree with that. I think that this is interesting. I think it's interesting seeing the realization come across, and basically seeing who is going to figure it out quickly enough to survive, or at least have a good shot at surviving. So I'm enjoying that stuff, and I am enjoying the tension. I just feel like there were ways to make the Alicia character a little bit more in the know, and maybe just kind of disbelieving, because come on, her brother
Yeah.
is a little bit he's not somebody you're going to trust.
Nope.
And what teenager is actually going to listen to their mother, that there's kind of crazy people out there? I mean, all she knows is that her boyfriend's sick and nobody will let her take care of him, and that the neighbor's being brutally attacked by another neighbor and they're not doing anything. Like they're kind of pulling like a Kitty Genovese thing without getting involved. That's all she knows. And
Yeah.
but there, I don't know. So in any case, that's just one person's thought. But
The parallel though between Dawn of the Dead 2004 and this several episodes that we're watching is an important one, because that is one of the better, bigger, I don't know, one of the other examples that we've seen of this. But in that example, we see, I forget her name, Sarah Polly's character.
yeah,
She's leaving work and there's signs that something isn't right. But then by the next morning, it's all gone, right?
hmm
It's like overnight, downtown, wherever they are, Milwaukee is completely done. And so
right.
this is a slower version of that. And who's to say what the actual rate of, I don't know, destruction and collapse really would be? And this is just a slightly slower one. It's only been 2 days. This is the
Well,
second night.
what I was saying to some of my friends, my compatriots, as it were, is that It's not that slow if you think about about the fact that this is like the same day.
Mm-hmm.
So when they're dropping off Nick and they're kind of splitting up, this is all like within a little while of them seeing Calvin biting the dust. So it feels slower, but I don't think it is. And so it's not. And we're immediately seeing signs that, all the things that you would expect to happen are starting to happen because other people are having the same idea. Let's get out of Dodge. So all the freeways are like blocked up. It's going to be really hard in an urban environment to escape it.
Yeah, so we're seeing stuff like, or well, Travis is seeing a policeman loading his trunk with water, which is a kind of a chilling thing. Obviously, this cop is getting the hell out of there, and this speaks to the police actually knowing what's going on because they are literally on the front lines. We hear on the radio really briefly at the beginning of the episode that there's been a massive spike in police-related shootings, but that's the only thing that the radio is saying. Then there's like a funny moment where Nick is like listening to this other station, and a guy is saying, "This is the end of the world. We've traded away our best running back," or whatever the hell he's talking about. So there's a commentary there on our priorities and why don't we recognize the calamitous events that are happening around us. It's
Well, and Nick even says that. Like,
yeah,
why isn't this anywhere?
a few times. And once he gets to the house and there's the goddamn bouncy house across the street, which is never a good sign, right? No, never have a birthday party in your front yard because it's almost inevitable that a zombie apocalypse will happen.
Yeah, something will happen. But I also think what's interesting and also funny about Nick, I'm really actually liking his character a lot. Despite the fact that he looks like baby Johnny Depp. But he's also, because he's going through withdrawal, he's still not sure exactly what is real and what is not. So he keeps testing it and keeps asking people. Like, there was that nice little exchange between him and his mom, and she's like, no, this is real. And so I like that fact because he's being all paranoid and crazy, much like somebody who would be going through this kind of a battle would be anyway, except there actually is the real monsters. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah, absolutely. That's an interesting moment because it sets up Maddie is basically it's telling him he doesn't have to be sorry for killing Calvin because he saved their lives, and she says you had no choice. And I'm not sure, or it speaks to her character's certainty about situations that actually kind of informs how she acts later on when she can act so quickly to kill her colleague.
Although it still takes her a minute, she still tries to reason with him.
But it's the first. Think about it. Like, put yourself in those shoes, and your boss is suddenly in your face, and I mean, it would take you a couple, right? And Tobias is saving her ass for sure, but she ultimately steps in and does the first, using her hands, getting like down and dirty to kill a zombie by crushing its head, and Tobias didn't even know to go for the head, right? His first attack was
he tried. He tried, but the eye socket got in the way of the knife, so it glanced off. I mean, his instinct was correct. It's just, I think it's a lot harder. That is not the ideal weapon in a scenario.
He had a
like
shit
this.
knife. Yeah, he had like a kitchen knife, which is why it doesn't make any sense.
This is the thing. This is the problem I have. Tobias is super smart. Come on. He's not going to be going back to the school for that thing, and I know he's there for the food. And I know it was a little bit of a joke, but there's much better weapons. In fact, the cans of food that he stole were better weapons.
Yeah, and her crowbar. I mean, all these things.
Anyway.
But yeah. So we also have the other tangent story of Chris and Liza. And we've seen Chris on the bus, and we've established that he's like not a popular kid because the other kids on the bus are kind of like dicks to him a little bit.
This could also be because he constantly looks like he's in a bad mood. I don't know. This kid is never looking happy.
No, he's a bit pissed off.
Yep.
But he's really excited to get involved in a riot or a protest, right? And he's really excited to get his camera out and become part of a movement. Just happens to be the wrong time, wrong place.
To get involved and to have,
Travis, in the course of going to find Chris, which is part of this plot that you don't really like, and I understand. It's like they had this great idea, get out of town, and then it all falls apart because it takes so long and at the end of the episode, everybody's still separated. The fact is that their family situation is super complicated, right? And they
Yep.
established that in the first episode. They've got branches of family, and getting out of town is a lot easier said than done. So, but during the course of getting Chris and Liza and trying to get back to Maddie and the others, Travis proves himself to be, I feel like, an able negotiator, like a good people person,
Yeah.
and really only in his ability to talk his way into the barbershop at the very end of the episode.
Well, not just that, but he manages to get it. It still took a little longer than I think it would because when he goes over to Liza's house, she like again, it's one of those things. It's similar to in the Alicia situation. He doesn't ever say, "Hey, things are going on. You guys might be in danger."
He
He
kind of
doesn't.
does.
He sort of does, but he doesn't until like he gets over there, and it's like she thinks he's just I don't know throwing his weight around and being annoying or whatever. But I just feel like the way he's talking about their son, if you think your kid is in danger, you're going to listen to him. You know what I mean? So that felt a little contrived to me.
He just
But
can't be very specific, I guess, is the real
but
problem.
but he did get there, and then he got there in terms of the barber's shop. He got them in there, and those people are not feeling like they trust other people all that much. They seem
No.
like really not like they don't really like other people at all.
Yeah, no. But yeah, the it's important to point out, like you did, that he gets Liza, he turns her around 180, because on the phone she's like, "No, you are being a jerk.
Hmm.
Don't mess with the settlement agreement or whatever." And he's just like, "Look, I'm gonna come over there and talk to you." And he doesn't really like. He kind of walks right past her, but as he's talking, he persuades her in like 5 seconds flat
True,
that
true.
Chris is in danger. And I don't really know how he does it, but he's set. I feel like the writers are setting him up to be. I don't want to say it because like
You don't want
a
to.
reasonable guy in The Walking Dead does not live for very long. So
No, they
I don't
don't.
know if he better like show up with a crazy streak very soon, you know. And I feel like Maddie kind of has that thing going for her already. She's almost like picking up the Carol vibe, where
Uh,
she's capable, she can kill, and she's self motivated, or at least she's like very den mothery, and she's going to protect her own at the expense of other innocents. You know.
yeah,
So
that's true.
so I kind of feel like if we're going to talk about this in terms of the Walking Dead archetypes, I don't want to say it, but Travis is feeling a little bit Tyrese, and Maddie's feeling a little bit Carol.
Nope, you're right. That actually, I have that written down. So you are not incorrect.
Or at least not alone in that theory.
Well,
Uh,
no, I say we are both correct. Anyhow.
okay, fair enough. Um, so yeah, the whole riot scene is it's fine. It's the obviously it's the scene that kind of speaks the most to I don't know the last couple of years here in the U.S. and the conversation you might say that we've been having as a nation about police reactions to things and First Amendment and right to assembly. Like that one guy is like, no, this is what we're doing.
Right.
But of course, as an audience, we're just like, no, you guys should really all be doing something else right now.
Yeah, like running.
Yeah.
So anyhow, were you thinking about all of this? Is that why you did not sleep at all?
honestly, it was it all comes back to this like sense of disquietment, this very slow creeping death kind of thing that is
Like
coexisting with
the tsunami is about to break and they can't like
it's
you know
slower
it's
than that.
there. It's a
But
slow
yeah,
tsunami, but it's coming kind of thing.
it's more the fact that this world-ending event is happening at the same time as ordinary life. And the
Yep.
bouncy house kind of sums that up.
Yeah.
They're having a goddamn birthday party. Nobody's coming to the birthday party. It's very much background. You almost don't even notice it because you hear them singing happy birthday during a scene between Nick and Alicia inside their house.
Yep. No, but it
Uh,
was a nice touch. I
oh,
like
it's
that.
amazing. And to me, it's just like this dread of, oh, fuck, this is all going to go so badly.
Right.
And it does kind of predictably, but also it's like she's looking out the window. Alicia's looking out the window. It's late at night with a flashlight, which is super dumb, but okay.
Mhm.
And she sees the neighbor across the street like working on the bouncy house, deflated, and then you also get a glimpse of the walker, the
Hmm.
guy from down the street, and then it kind of goes the way you might think it is. It's going to, and Maddie takes the stance that she's going to take, which is don't go out there. It doesn't really, still doesn't explain it, and I'm definitely coming around to your reaction on that. It's frustrating, but she's right. And well, I don't know. I guess there's two ways you could look at it. They could have just run out there and brained the zombie because there aren't a lot of them around at that point in their neighborhood. You would think.
Well, she saw it was too late. I mean, I think that's also the thing is that Maddie has quickly grasped that if somebody gets bitten, they're done for.
Hmm.
So I think that that's fine. It's just my issue is more that she just doesn't talk to her daughter and say, "Look, this is what I've been talking about, and this is why you have to stay inside." She just sits there and then she's silent. And hey, maybe you can pawn that off to her being in shock. I just don't buy it. I don't buy it if she wants to keep her daughter safe, that she's gonna keep her mouth shut
Yeah.
because Alicia wants to get out. She wants to get out and help Matt. So, what I do buy, even though I buy Nick a little bit more, only because he also isn't fully sure of everything that's real, and so he does think that there's danger out there, and he does think it's real. But he's not quite ready to talk about it. I think he also knows his credibility with his sister is totally not there anymore.
And he's really just looking to score, right? I
Well,
mean,
that too. But then again, Nick is totally willing, whether that convulsion was faked or not, it felt a little fake to me. And maybe then became a little real because he is totally going through withdrawal. But
hmm
it felt like he understands that he has to do whatever he has to do to keep her inside the house. And that I was like, yay, applaud to you, mister. Good
all
job.
right. So he's your favorite character, obviously.
Not my
Um,
favorite. I'm liking
no,
him. I am liking Travis. I admittedly I'm finding Maddie a little like, kind of like, not. She's not Carol enough yet for me to like her. But
great.
there's again, and this is the writing, and this is sort of where they're going with it. She's just a little too taciturn right now in terms of the stories that she's not sharing. Um, and I would say Tobias is also a favorite character for me.
Yeah, we'll
Um,
have to see if he comes back around. Obviously, I think he's probably a show favorite right now because he is the only guy who knows what's happening.
well, come on, he's one of us, clearly. So,
Him and that cop who's loading his car up with the
yeah.
water getting out of town. And so that that we leave the show right as that neighbor is getting attacked and kind of we not it's not really clear if she gets bit, but she does manage to run inside the house.
No, I think she was bitten hard when just before she like gets away.
Yeah,
Yeah, because he's like all over her, into her neck and stuff,
yeah. It's pretty hard to tell.
she's kind of like holding her neck like when she runs into the house. So I think he got her.
Could be.
Um,
It's a this is part of the way that it's shot is we're basically seeing it from inside Maddie's house. Like we don't
right.
really. It's across the street. It's hard to tell what's happening. It lends to that air of like this is what it would look like to be in this situation. And to me, that just adds to the air and
Yeah.
I don't know. It definitely affected me. I should have watched something else before I went to sleep.
The other part that I really liked actually was when Travis and Liza and Chris are all in the barber shop. And Travis understands, he gets what's going on, and he keeps talking to the owner, and he can't convince him or any of them. His instinct is, we need to get up on the roof, or get out a back door, or block up the back door. And the barber guy's like, no, no, you guys stay in the front of the shop. And he's like, not able to fully convince the guy. But his instincts are correct. So that's part of why I really like Travis, because Travis is like, okay, we need to get somewhere where we can protect ourselves. Let's get to the high ground. So I kind
His
of like that.
instincts are definitely on, but he also knows to back down
Well, because
when
he knows he's not going to get anywhere, and so that's the
yeah.
other thing. It's like
And
his
he does the thing that you wish that Maddie was doing, and he tells Chris and Liza, these
what happened,
people when they die, they don't die, they come back.
right?
And
Like he
then they
did what he needed to do to make them understand. I don't
well,
know that
maybe
they.
maybe they don't believe him, maybe they think he's
What I was
crazy.
saying, I don't think that they fully believe him yet. Although when Liza saw one of the bodies, she did kind of.
You could see his neck was torn open.
You could see his neck was torn open, his face was something was weird, and you could see her kind of recoil. So I think maybe she doesn't fully believe him, but she definitely isn't buying that this person was just shot. Like she thinks that there's something else going on.
And that's one of the interesting things about this show. It's not showing you black and white. Holy shit! Everybody's gonna realize as soon as they see this that they're gonna know what's happening. It's
Right.
always, I assume, for the first who knows how long, and that's what makes this whole part of the story interesting. Is that you don't know what's going on, and there's no immediate like light switch where you're gonna be like, oh, okay, now I know all the rules to this universe, and this is how I need to react.
True.
So I'm enjoying the fact that they're, like as I said, that they're still teasing it out, and then we get to see this new cast, these characters figuring, dealing with the unfolding situation. And I'm excited for next week when we get to see like what's going to happen with Ruben Blades' family and how are they going to get out of that situation.
Yeah, no, I am too, and I'm liking it. Despite some of the things that I've said, and what I see as the shortcomings of the show, I think we'll get over those pretty quickly because there's only so much you can tease out at this point.
Yeah. Just before the end of the show, before that attack on the neighbor and this final scene in the barbershop, there's a bit of a montage, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
What you get to see is Artie, the principal, lying on the landing at the school. It's kind of weird. Like we
His
start the
poor
episode
empty
with him.
walkie-talkie.
Yeah, just kind of lying there. There's a shot of the outside of Matt's house with a car in the driveway, and his parents were expected home, right, from Las Vegas. And there's luggage like in the driveway, but nobody around. And so, we draw the inevitable conclusions there that he's basically turned and killed his parents, I guess. And then I think it just kind of pans or changes to that scene of the bouncy house and the neighbor getting attacked, and then finally the woman at the barbershop praying, I think, is how they end the episode. Of course, old lady Mrs. Ruben Blades not gonna last.
Probably not.
Has there been someone as old as she's apparently supposed to be on the show ever? Maybe like a Woodbury person who was an
There was
extra.
a Woodbury person, but not really.
And yeah, the old guy who basically dies of old age in Woodbury or whatever he dies
Yeah,
of that they
yeah,
sort of
I guess he's pretty
experiment on.
old.
But it doesn't look good for her. Ruben Blades, his daughter Ophelia, very auspicious name.
Yeah, I know.
I'm sure they'll be fine.
Yeah, that always works out well. Those tragic names.
Anyway, awesome. I'm loving it. Like when I don't look at a night of terrible zombie dreams as a bad reaction to watching The Walking Dead. Obviously, I'm like, wow, that really messed me up. Good stuff.
Wow, I'm so impressed by the fact that it messed you up. Maybe I'm just totally too exhausted from work to really be feeling the tension.
Maybe.
I mean, I'm liking it, but I did not have zombie dreams last night.
Who can say why we dream the things we dream?
Wait, so was this you like spinning this all over in your head, or was this like zombie dreams wake up, zombie dreams wake up?
Oh yeah,
Oh, really?
over and over.
Wow, this has totally gotten into your head.
It was a rough one.
Interesting. I would never have expected that.
Today was like a 5 or 6 espresso shot day
Wow.
just to get through work.
But yet, you and I met here and we talked about episode 2. Amazing.
This is therapy.
Good. Well, I'm glad. I'm glad I could help you out with that.
Yeah, good stuff.
I'm not, no, I'm more just, I guess maybe because it was such a slow burn, yes, I feel the tension that you're talking about, but I'm more excited to see where it leads. I'm not as, like, terrified by it as I have been by other things. Like, I feel like, especially Walking Dead Season 1, I was having much more visceral reactions to it. I don't know. But there is more viscera to be had, definitely, with
Yes,
the rest
indeed.
of this season. So
Indeed. All right, so the next episode of Fear the Walking Dead doesn't air until September 13th, meaning that Reanimated will be taking a slight hiatus to celebrate the beginning of the football season
and the lack of labor.
and the lack of labor. So we will be back for episode 3 of Fear the Walking Dead entitled The Dog. Not sure what that's all about. We'll find out, and we'll let you know what we think of it.
I have a
On or
theory about what it's called the dog.
you think you know
Maybe.
zombie Rottweilers or Dobermans?
Well, there is a dog at the neighbor's house across the street. Maybe.
There was a German Shepherd, very briefly. Yeah. Oh, good eye.
Yep. So I think maybe that is what it has to do with.
Mayhaps. Anyway, we'll find out in 2 short weeks. And in the meantime, let us know, Reanimated fans, what you think of the series so far. Am I just a big baby?
No.
No, it's okay. Pitch in. Let us know on Twitter at ReanimatedPcast or email at reanimatedpodcast@gmail.com or let us know in the show notes at reanimatedpodcast.com. I'm eager to hear if anybody else has had terrible zombie dreams or if you just dream about bunnies after watching this.
I did. Anyhow, until next time, ciao.
Bye-bye.